Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you. And the idea to open Khodeir Partners was just a few years after I left Gafi, when I was the CEO of Gafi, back at the end of 2019. I decided that it's time to set up a firm with a very specific vision focused on empowering people and delivering outstanding quality to our clients. The idea came and was subsequently a lot of challenging events that happened. As you know, we all encountered COVID in March 2020, which was just about the time when we established the firm. Nevertheless, we had a very specific vision, myself and my founding partner, and then the rest of the partners who joined us, to continue to do this with our precise vision and develop it and empower more people and hire more people to allow us to deliver this quality that we are seeking to our clients. Today, we're 30 fee earners, divided in two main practice groups, led hand-on-hand focus by our partners in each of the practices. And we divide our practice between the corporate advisory side and the dispute settlement side. We're very happy to have grown the client base that we have and the transactions we've been involved in, along with the very sensitive and important disputes we've been part of, as well as growing our market presence and recognition by most of the legal ranking agencies. Well, I see a lot of challenges that need to be overcome in the next period. But before that, I always like to put that in the context of the macro picture. The macro picture and the story of Egypt the past 10 years is that Egypt has been exposed to two revolutions. These two revolutions led to massive economic challenges. The government in 2014, with a very precise and persistent political willpower, decided to undergo an inclusive reform program. And the word inclusive is very crucial in this program because the challenges that Egypt encountered before were as a result of these programs not being inclusive enough. Inclusive in terms of all aspects of the economy, inclusive in terms of the other constituencies of the economy and the people. And in addition to being inclusive, it's a curing formula that deals with the challenges. Curing in the sense of dealing with the past delays that Egypt encountered. And let's take an example to illustrate that, past delays and future ones. So Egypt's power capabilities and production of power has been historically at a certain level that was doubled during the past 8 years. So Egypt's production of power in the past 8 years is equal to the production of power throughout Egypt's history. That is an approach that sets a vision to cure the past challenges and to forecast the future challenges. Today we have roads that have a vision that contains 70 and 80 years ahead, not just immediate challenges to address. So that approach led to a lot of reforms and required the government to intervene heavily in terms of investment in infrastructure, investment in different projects, even services projects. So, for example, you need some service stations in southern parts of Egypt. Private investors were not going to do that without the roads that have been constructed the past 8 years. And they were not going to do it at the time where you were forecasting that this is to happen. Because in the past there were a lot of promises by previous governments that were not delivered. And therefore investors did not have the confidence that, okay, if I invest in even a simple station in southern part of Egypt on the promise that this will be rehabilitated and constructed, will happen. But now it has happened. Egypt, through the government, has invested in these type of facilities and services. And now it is time for all that to be handed over to the private sector. And that's why the government recently announced its private sector empowerment program that highlights the intention of the government to maintain certain stakes in key investments while disposing the rest to the benefit of the private sector, which was announced by the President and the Prime Minister recently as part of a macro economic reform program in phase 2, if you want to say. One of the very important things the Prime Minister mentioned is that the challenges that the world is encountering now are unprecedented and are very deep-rooted throughout the world. And therefore, anyone who can forecast with certainty what's going to happen in the next year or the next couple of years would be giving misguided advice. So what the government is trying to do is to tackle the situation with all the challenges that it has by focusing on empowering the private practice, handing over the investments that are private sector focused back to the private sector now that the government has stepped in and undertaken the jobs that no one else would have undertaken in such a short interval. So this position will lead to a lot of private sector empowerment. You can see that recently there have been investment treaties and agreements that have been concluded in the past couple of weeks worth over $30 billion of investment opportunities that are coming into Egypt in the form of numerous types of investment. That is in line with the government announced program of disposing up to and above $40 billion worth of assets to the private sector. So this empowerment program is very important. The key challenge with it will be the lower stream approvals process that needs to be addressed very, very aggressively. And I think that's also something the government announced with something I hope that becomes one of our focus points as a country for the next few years is the so-called, what the Prime Minister called it, 20 days approval process. We, as in Egypt, need to work, private sector, advisors, legal community, accounting community, and led by the government, different sectors, that any approval for an investment injection needs to not take more than 20 days. By hook or by crook, as they say, this is a focus and this is a national duty I think we all need to work on the next period. Well, KP has been involved in the process of issuing the investment law throughout historically and is well aware of all the intricacies in this investment law. The investment law is quite a progressive law. It has a lot of approval cushions that are offered to investors to facilitate their approval process, amongst which the golden license that has been issued and now is being implemented by GAFI and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet to award investors a single license to allow them to operate their business instantly. So rather than going through all the complex approval processes that you would need to set up a plant, if it's a national project or a strategic project, you can get a single approval from the Cabinet and start operating your construction work and activity to build up the plant and get it operative instantly within the same week. That is a very progressive approach that is now being implemented by the government, and I hope to see many more licenses other than the 2 that have been recently announced to come in the next period. Utilizing these provisions of the investment law and other provisions that award guarantees to investors and award incentives and force a macro continuous revision of the investment plan of the government and the investment focus in terms of ease of procedures as an ongoing concern, because I always believe that improving procedures of investment and investment climate has no end line to it. It's an ongoing process. What you fix today, you need to improve further tomorrow to be able to compete with other countries who are competing to acquire the biggest stake of FDIs from across the globe. So I think we need to work harder on this file, and I think the government is really focused on that. The president in person is helping the promotion process by all the meetings that you are seeing and highlighting the importance of the government projects that are open up for investment. And as well, you will see that the Prime Minister, in parallel, in a very smooth, synchronized fashion, is promoting the micro projects in that dimension that are offered and available to the private sector. As a country, as we discussed, the government has taken all these initiatives. One thing to add to what we just discussed is the promotion. I think with focused promotion activities, utilizing the partnerships that Egypt has with a lot of international investors and investment banks, the promotion activity can be even more effective and stronger to highlight the opportunities that are available in Egypt, to highlight the overall reform program and macro deliveries of success that Egypt has achieved in the past 8 years, and the forecast for the future in terms of improving these opportunities. In parallel to that, and it's very important, the reform and opening up of the stock exchange opportunities in terms of indirect investment on the stock exchange goes hand in hand with foreign direct investment, because your stock market reflects the ability of your economy, reflects the ability of your opportunities, I mean in terms of your foreign direct investment. It goes hand in hand. So strengthening the opportunities on the stock market and the regulatory perception of international investors of the stock market will definitely work hand in hand in improving the investment opportunities that Egypt can be open up for.